Okay, here's an example of how soul care works, like in the moment. I have this story of being overlooked. I think being a sister of four, there's four girls, I'm one of four. I always feel like, it's like I'm invisible a lot of the times. And I've taken this story with me into, you know, other friendships, interactions, at the business table in meetings, with colleagues, with friends. I feel like there's oftentimes like I'm completely just not seen. And, even up to this morning, I had said something in a group chat with some family members, and it was like right there blatant, and then afterwards people were laughing, and it was like and then it circled back that it was like, oh, that was so funny when so and so said that. And I was like, wait a minute, I said that first. Like literally there is my trigger, like in my face. I've literally posted something there. All you have to do is scroll up and you can see that I was the original one who had mentioned it, and then a little bit lower the other person, and all of the accolades and laughter was going to this other person. It's hysterical, and to hear it back, you can hear the ego in that. Like even retelling it, there's a little bit of like, oh my gosh, should I even be telling this story? It's so embarrassing. But that's our stuff, right? It's so blatant to other people, but when we're feeling it, it feels so real, especially if the roots are in a story that we have. It's not about being overlooked on WhatsApp this morning. That's really the root of the problem. The root of the problem is that I feel unseen, is that I have this story and this history of feeling unseen, and then the world validates it. When we get to a place where we are deeply aware of our tendencies and our triggers, we then thank the universe for showing us where this is still active in our life, where we still feel these patterns, where we allow it to derail us. Ultimately, even if I am overlooked, what do I make that mean? What am I making that mean about myself? That I'm not worthy, that I'm not lovable, that I'm not connected to the others, which is again pointing to my desires. So what do I desire? What's on the other side of that is that I have a deep desire for connection. I have a deep desire to be seen. I have a deep desire to be recognized and to be loved, right? To feel like I'm in connection with a circle and that I'm loved. And so we don't even necessarily have to go back and express that to the other, because there is no other. And this is a radical understanding. There is no other. It's always just reflecting back to us where we are in the journey. We can deeply utilize these patterns and these tendencies to show us where we are in our journey, to show us how far we've come or where we still are. And we do this observation without judgment, without criticism. It's not about being critical of yourself. It's about meeting yourself with compassion and love and understanding, and to turn toward it rather than away from it. So for me, the sensations, like I can feel the gripping in my heart. All of a sudden there's like a muddiness in my head where I can't really articulate myself that well. It all feels clouded, and that's an indication of a trigger. That's an indication of its roots in something. And so we want to recognize that first. And I know the next question is, because I get asked this all the time, but then how do I heal that? And how do I stop doing that? Well, first you have to acknowledge that you are doing that. First, you have to be so clear that you are able to see that you are acting from a place of deep conditioning. That is your inner child. That is your wound. That is a part within you that is asking to be healed, to be brought to the light. It becomes more clear when you have a practice like meditation or breath work, where you have a place of stillness, where you stop and you have a dialogue or in communication with an internal world, with that intangible, the subtle body, that with which we cannot see but we know is there. How you cultivate that relationship is deeply personal and up to you. Some of the ways that I have and that I offer in the soul care sessions is breath work, because the breathing technique settles your nervous system. So when your nervous system is hijacked, you literally go into a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? And it's whatever one that you've practiced the most, that's the one you go into. And it can really present as reasonable, right? Really reasonable. Like it makes all the sense in the world. I clearly said that first and nobody notices that. Like, oh my gosh, you are completely overlooking me, and I have every right to feel the way that I do, and let me project that all over you and be upset about that and turn it into something about you rather than taking the time to look at me and to see what that pattern is, why I why I'm triggered into that space. Another one of you could fully be in a WhatsApp conversation and someone could, not notice you said something, and that doesn't even meet your radar. Why? Because you don't have a backstory of being overlooked. You don't feel like you're lacking connection or that you're always struggling to be seen. That's not your story. And so for you, when you listen to me speak about that, you could be laughing, you could be in judgment of me. You could feel like, well, that's not very evolved. It's not going to be the same for each of us. We all have our own individual things. But what is the same is that none of us need be in judgment of ourselves for these things, right? It's an opportunity to heal, and it becomes quite remarkable when we can pay attention, because then what we can do is turn the spotlight within. We can pause and take a breath. Exhale to share that out. And then offer some loving kindness. I see you. I feel you. I get it. You're okay. Right? Reparenting that inner child, letting them know you're okay. I've got you. Building in some tools and the mindset that everything in life is happening for you. And this, I can promise you, nothing is happening to you. It's all happening for you. You get to transmute the energy coming in, and you get to make the meaning going out. You get to be completely deliberate and a co-creator of your life. And you have the capacity and capability of doing this. You are not without this potential and possibility. In fact, it's your birthright, and it's ingrained within you. If you experience sensations in your body, then you're cut out for this work, because it means you're witnessing them and you recognize that there's been a change in your subtle body. Something's being disrupted here. That requires mindfulness, and that's your navigational system. That's an indication that you're out of alignment. I love to have this conversation more than anything. If you're here in this space, if you're listening, it means that there's a connection here, and that there is, that there's an opportunity for you to embark on this journey of self-hypnosis, of being able to reprogram the way that you believe and see things and show up in the world, so that there's deep meaning, deep joy, deep fulfillment and vitality. And why? Because it feels so good. It feels so good. Reframing in this way allows you to be empowered, not because everything external is working out for you. There will always be challenges. There will always be triggers. There will always be indicators that there's more work to be done. But that work gets to be fulfilling, it gets to be meaningful, and it gets to be deeply embedded in the energy of love, which is your true nature. I love you so much. Stay close, with you on the journey. You are light, you are love.